We would be honored if you would join us.
Welcome back into the Silvercast. Once again, we are joined by our first guest of 2021. We're blessed to have this man join us. If you hadn't listened to the first part of this episode, you got to go back and hear it. A lot of great stuff that we covered there. A lot of information that everybody can learn from. And we're joined by Juice. How you doing today, sir?
What's up, my brother? What's up, guys? It's amazing, man. I feel blessed to be here, bro. Blessed to be here.
Yeah. And how you doing today, Silver Conundrum?
Man, I am ecstatic. I'm here with my two buddies. What more can a man want? Not $1 million, and anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And also, please note the disclaimer that Expat Stacker and Silver Conundrum are not financial advisors or experts. Investing is risky and comes with the chance that you could lose money. So talk to a licensed professional before making any decisions about what to do with your money. This video and all of the contents on our channels is for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Last time we talked about who Juice is and the background story. We got to know him a little bit more, and that was very interesting and fun. And this time we're going to be talking about something that comes up a lot in Juice's videos, and something that is an area of personal interest to me, and also a thing that I think all stackers, anyone who's investing or saving or whatever you're doing, it's something important, and that is investment psychology. And Juice, you talk a lot in your videos about the need to be patient and the need to set aside your emotions, but as we all know, it's very easier said than done, right?
Yes, you got that right, brother. You got that right. I'm still learning myself. I'm still learning myself. That's why I do YouTube videos, to kind of put me on track and catch myself.
Yeah. And I think that communicating with other people about it, I mean, I don't know, but sometimes when I speak about a topic, I actually realize things by verbalizing it or having a conversation or discussion with somebody. And I've noticed that sometimes it can really help. Like we had Fish on at the end of 2020, and we talked a little bit about FOMO. And I found myself, we were talking everybody does it. Everybody does it. It's just part of being a person. And but since that conversation, I've caught myself a couple times no, don't do it. You're just it's all FOMO right now. Or I talked to some of my other friends in the US, should I, I'm thinking about doing this. I even talked to Silver Conundrum the other day. I was thinking about 100-ounce bar and stuff, and it's just there's a lot of stuff that goes through our minds when it comes to this stuff. So let's go through some of the big ones. FOMO is a big one. FOMO is
yes. FOMO is like a pack of cigarettes to a smoker.
Yeah. It's missing out, right?
Yeah, it's a fear of missing out. Everyone and their mother has it. You're born with it, I think.
I agree with you.
I mean, I think everyone's born with FOMO. I think that's part of the human mind.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with technology nowadays, especially when you have everything in the fingertips, right? So I was born in '88. So I was born in the beeper era, right? So in the beeper era, my mother would beep me 911, and I'll have to call through a payphone, find a payphone, call through a payphone, and say, "What do you want, ma?" And she'll be like, "Oh, did you eat already?" And I'll be like, "This isn't 911. This isn't an emergency." So now you get you get an email or a pop or a text or an Instagram or a Twitter or sorry about that, guys. You get whatever it is through your phone that says Tesla's up 10%.
Yeah.
Or people automatically go towards it and say, "Oh, I need to buy." oh man, did you see this? Oh man, this thing is gonna go to 1,000. Oh, FOMO is something that you need to learn how to control.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can. It's not something that you can how do you call it? Can kill in your system. It's just in your DNA. If you know DNA, it's in your DNA.
Yeah.
So it's there, and it's always gonna be there. But you gotta learn when FOMO's happening and when you know FOMO's in you.
Mhm.
If that makes any freaking sense.
It does. It does. You got to be able to recognize it,
Yes.
and then from there, you got to be able to pump the brakes.
Yeah,
right?
pump the brake or even pull the trigger if you want to,
Yeah.
But you gotta realize that it's there.
I think it's like its own emotion. It's like a mixture of emotions, but I feel like it's like an emotion, just like anger or fear or whatever, right? Well, I mean, fear is in the title, but like I think it is a mixture of emotions, like desperation, fear, all these other things. And so like pump the brakes and just try to make a more rational decision, which is based on other things other than just, this opportunity might not be here later on, right? And I think especially with precious metals, because they're limited, right? Then it's something that, at least for me, right? Because I always think like these are precious metals. They're it's, you can't just make a new one. Like they could just issue new shares, or like even with cryptocurrency, don't they do like, what do they call it, rehabbing or something? Like
Rehab. They do having.
Yeah. So like, but they can't really do that with precious metals, right? So because it's just a finite thing. So for me, it's like I've noticed that because of the volatility and the change in the stocks, I get FOMO a little bit more with investing in stocks. But when I'm very easily able to turn it off, right? Because it comes and goes more often and quickly. But when I get FOMO over like precious metals, it is very hard to shake.
Yeah. You know why though?
For me, it's just because of the limited nature. But what were you thinking?
Because you actually hold it.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That's a very
You're
good
actually
point.
holding. That's why you get FOMO.
Yeah,
That's
you can
why
actually put your hands on it.
you put your hands on it and you know the worth of it.
Yeah,
And even though there's a huge misconception in the physical versus the paper markets, the paper markets drives the physical price, whether you're including premiums or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Premiums, forget about it. No one's ever gonna go ahead and give you spot deal.
Yeah.
No one. We already know that. So premiums are here to stay.
Right.
But you see a day like Friday when gold went down through 4%, 2%, 3%. How much did it go down to? I think it was 3.3%. Gold went down.
Yeah.
People panic. That is also considered FOMO, but on the negative correlation.
Right.
Just like when silver went up to $27 or $28, and people probably bought a bunch of silver.
Yeah.
But not knowing the reality of the situation, you could have pumped the brakes and said, "Let's wait it out."
Yeah.
So there's always a correlate. There's another word for FOMO, but on the back end of things, like on the negative side, I just forgot about it right now. I'm having a brain fart, but it's all correlated. It's all psychological. Everything is psychological here. The life that we live is psychological. Like my dad says, he goes, "There's only two things permanent in this world: death and taxes. That's it. Everything else is what you can create and what you see and what opportunities you have and what you can do with them." So it's all psychological, Like SC. I wish I was SC. Man, freaking paid off his house with silver. Shit.
But I'm lucky, though, man. I mean, let's be honest about that. I'm gonna tell you, like I tell everybody else, that when I talk about it, I was lucky. The reason why I sold out is because I was afraid. This is just me. I was afraid that in my lifetime, I've been doing this stuff, man, since I was like 9. So in my little bit of lifetime, I was like, silver's going to drop. It always drops. I'm not risking it. I'm selling everything. And so I just got lucky and made the right decision. I could have put the coin and went the other way and been just as bad. So for me, it was a fear factor because I was like, I'm taking my profits and running.
Yeah.
Because if I did, Dad would have came back to life and kicked me in the butt and wonder why I didn't do it.
All right, but this is where I'm getting at right now. This is a psychological. This is a psyche that I'm talking about. You pulled the trigger on that because you had historical experience from past that gave you that fear to pull the trigger.
That's
right
true.
or wrong. So
No,
it's
that's
all
true.
based on your experience and what you try to go ahead and do with that experience. Now it could be a negative or a positive, but if you're a smart fella like you are, you said, you know what, screw this, let's make it happen.
Mhm.
And that right there is very, very hard to master.
Yeah.
Very hard to master. And that's why we have this topic here today, because
Yeah.
the psychology of investing is just that. It's not actually mastering it, it's knowing what you messed up with. It's like my friend once told me, he's like, you learn from your mistakes. Well, you learn what not to do, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's why you're in the situation that you're in, SC. You know, you're doing the damn thing. That's why I wish I was you. It's not you could give it a little dash of luck if you want to, but it's mostly because of your experience and what you experienced since you were X years old to going to that opportunity, and you telling yourself, all right, what do I have on the table? What have I done in the past? What I could do differently to change the future? And I think that right there is very hard to master, and especially in this day and age, you know, with technology, with all the rapid information, with all the keeping up with the Joneses psychology that we have today. Uh, that's why I always make fun. I was like, man, when I grow up, I want to be like SC, man. I really do.
Oh man, I'm blushing.
Blush all you want, boy. I give you kudos, man. I really do.
Yeah. So like, there's a bunch of different of those acronyms, right? Like FOMO. You were talking about like the opposite, right?
Hmm.
Maybe it might be like JOMO. There's a few different ones that I'm looking at here. JOMO is like the joy of missing, like the idea that you're happy to not be involved with something at a
Yeah,
particular time.
of course.
And there's a bunch of different ones that they have. And I think we kind of experience all of those emotions when we're investing, right? And I totally agree with you. Like it's like you know, kids, they're not as emotionally mature yet because they don't have the experience in life. So like what you were just saying about SC, how he has like years and years and years of experience, and he's able to, you know, be able to know when it's the appropriate time to do something. And
Yeah.
that's very difficult to, unless you have that experience, it's very difficult to be able to kind of replicate that sort of behavior. Because I feel that, like, you know, we have feelings, like if you touch something hot, you get burned. You'll learn not to touch that again.
Yeah.
Your stomach starts to like feel a certain type of way when you get hungry and stuff like that, right? Those are like physiological feelings. But I feel like emotional feelings are the same type of thing. They're trying to teach us a lesson of what to do, what not to do, but they're just a lot more difficult to you know, figure out. I feel like, right? It's not as easy as I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat something, right?
Of
When you have
course.
FOMO, it's the answer is not that simple because there are so many factors going on. It's a psychological thing, but
It
we do
is.
have to. Like you said, like we can't master it. It's never gonna go away. We just have to figure out like how to react to these different types of feelings that we get with a way that can more often than not like help us, right? I think
Yeah.
another thing you talked about before in the previous episode, not trying to be rich, right? And like
Yeah.
I think that our expectations coming into certain things is also really important. So when
I
you
think ideas is what gets people. Ideas and long-term goals is what kind of hinders people and their potential to be successful.
yeah
I've heard of one friend of mine that I'm actually doing a project with, DOA, a director of Awesome. He has a YouTube channel. Go follow him. He spoke to him a few months ago, and he told me, which is still ingrained in me till then, is long-term goals are short-term excuses.
hmm
Every single day, and that right there, that's all he said. That's all he said, right? So that kind of like gave me that one of those memes where I'm like, my head's exploding, and I'm like, you're so right. You are
yeah
right, because you have a long, I want to be a millionaire, right?
uh,
And you'll be like, all right, I wake up today and I'm gonna go watch Netflix on the sofa. And you're like, you know what? I'll be a millionaire tomorrow. I could push
yeah
that off to the side. It's not obtainable yet, you
right
know? And that's one thing that hinders people and just kind of gives them, it gives this state of complacency, like that's why people have that 9 to 5 for 20 years, and they're miserable at their job. They don't feel any gratification, and they're just there, like zombies.
yeah
And don't get me wrong, I work not 9 to 5. I work 5:30 to 2, but I'm in the same boat. But I like my job, I like what I do, and SC probably likes what he does. But there's certain people out there that it's just it becomes a drag, and then it becomes this complacency issue because they have these goals, right? These huge goals, and it's all everything is all psychological in the human mind. And that's something that I've learned with trading, is that it's every time that I don't know how many screens I've broken. I don't know how many times I've blown up my account.
yeah
In the 9 years that I've had, I've made swings of made 20,000, lost 20,000 in the same day.
right
Not a lot of people could say that. Like, there's people that are afraid to like. I see these guys on Twitter. That's why I had to get off of it, because I'm like, my mentors, and they're very, very transparent, but they don't like to post their stuff out there. But there's other people out there that like to post their stuff. They want to be the big mandingo, the big barracuda, whatever it is that you want to call it, and they only show the good stuff. Because it's
yeah
all psychological, bro. It's like an endorphin hit,
yeah
it's a drug, and, it's like they want to show the oh my god, look, I got this, I got that. But in reality,
yeah
they didn't show their account that last week they lost 75K
yeah
and they made 100. Like what we were talking about, Expat, a little while ago.
yeah
People
that's
don't want to
right
show that.
right
Everything is all psychological, man. I mean, to me, FOMO is the same deal as GOMO, as everything. Is
yeah
everything. What you gotta realize in this life is that you gotta recognize who you are, what type of person you are, and know your flaws.
mm,
Once you have that, kind of have that in perspective, then you can tell yourself, okay, this is how I'm gonna trade. This is how I'm gonna stack
yeah
metals.
yeah
This is how I'm gonna go ahead and work. This is how I'm gonna go ahead and do my day-to-day goals to get to X amount.
hmm
I have day-to-day goals. My day-to-day goal is getting up in the morning, kissing my wife good morning, getting my kids up ready, and starting my job. Would and it's hard, be grateful, and all that little stuff that positive affirmations, and try to do that every day. Now, am I perfect? Hell no. Hell no. None of us are.
yeah
And no one's perfect. That doesn't exist. Perfection doesn't exist. But at least you could try. And
yeah
trying is better than not doing anything at all.
yeah man. That's a lot. There is so much good stuff you said right there. I mean, you're starting with your friend's quote about long-term goals or short-term excuses. I love that. And to add on to that, I've heard somebody say before that, excuses, your friends don't need them and your enemies don't want them. you know, so that
You got that right.
pretty much worthless, you know, because and the only one you're making excuses to is yourself, and that means you're not being honest to yourself, right? And what you just said right there about knowing yourself, you know, knowing what kind of person you are, that's super important. You know, sometimes it's very difficult to know yourself in that way. You know what I mean? Like to recognize and realize what type of individual you are, how you actually deal with your emotions. But I think that the way to learn that about yourself is through challenging yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And if you approach life in a way that you just mentioned, getting up in the morning on time, you know, well, guess what? You just made an accomplishment right there. You might not
Exactly.
people might not think of it as an accomplishment, but there's people who all the time they don't wake up on time, or they can't get up out of bed in the morning,
Dude,
or they
I
die.
don't snooze. I don't snooze my alarm.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I try not. I never do it.
Yeah.
I'm
I wish
automatic.
I could do that.
Yeah, I know, but SC, bro, we can't. I mean, honestly, I can't. All right, we gotta say something. We gotta put down the line here. If you're SC and you work the same amount of hours that SC works, he can go ahead and snooze the alarm all he wants. I'm not gonna. You can. That guy works freaking 16 hours a day, so you can snooze all you want, brother.
That's so true, because like your situation, his situation is totally different, right? So like,
Exactly, dude. Like it's all in perspective. So yeah, I might not snooze, but I don't work. I kind of work 16 hours a day, but this guy literally does labor for 16 hours. He has a boss under him for 16 hours a day, so it's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me take that back. Let's continue the conversation here.
no, but like it's just you get that W under your belt, and then like you say, you know, you kiss your wife and you tell your kids you love them and stuff. That's another W, and like you
Yeah,
just,
bro.
you know, you
Little
just
little W's become big W's.
exactly.
That's right.
So like we were you were just talking about how like people don't want to post when they go down 75K, and they did you just post when they only go up 100K, but in reality it's 25K, because you know, you just lost 75 the day before and you were stressing. Now you're like, oh yeah, I'm the best, look
Yeah,
at
bro.
this, you know? But
Of
look,
course.
it's in the aggregate as what matters, right? So like if you lose 75K one day and you come up 100K the next day, you still came up 25K.
Yeah,
But
you're
you
right.
know, like, yeah, people don't want to show that. So that's why like a person's perception of reality is super important, because like you said, it's all psychological. So if you're only looking at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and people there, they want to
You
show that they're super happy and successful and doing everything right, and then you think that you have to like
you have to
always
play the
be,
comparison game. You have to play the comparison game. That's the thing,
yeah.
is that people like to compare.
And SC, you've talked about like keeping up with the Joneses, and Juice has mentioned that a couple of times as well. So like, how do you deal with that? Like when it comes to keeping up with the Joneses, how do you like kind of get yourself out of that mindset? You know, what are some things you do, SC, to stay away from that?
Honestly, I don't compare myself to anybody in the discussion. I
Yes.
do what I do. I let them do what they do.
Yeah. That's easier said than done though for younger folks.
Yeah.
But yes, I totally agree with him. I think everyone likes to play the comparison game, and it's easier said than done in the sense of like when people are so attracted to the finer things in life, and they think that they're like, oh my god, I wish I was like they just soak their mentality into this realm of like, I'm gonna be the top shit, and it doesn't work that way, man. Nothing works that way. You really think that Jeff Bezos and this other guy, the Microsoft guy, Bill Gates, and Apple, Steve Jobs, you really think that those guys really compared themselves? No, bro. Those guys knew that they were individuals,
Mhm.
didn't give a shit about anyone else, and pursued what they knew best.
Yeah.
It's just easier said than done. I'm not gonna lie. I've been in that same predicament, bro. Like even with my YouTube stuff,
Mhm.
I used to compare myself in the beginning. I'm like, damn, man, I don't make good quality YouTube. You know, I'm not a 2is1 or a Silver Britches or a Florida Stacker. I'm Juice. You know, Juice can say some stupid shit sometimes. Juice can say some smart stuff sometimes. But you know, and then at one point, yeah, after a while, you know, once you start getting comfortable with it, you're like, you know what? Screw it, bro. Let's just pump out a video however I like it and be done with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who do YouTube have that same thing going on, you know, because I heard Lucy Stacks talk about that before too, and like a few other people talking about that as well. I mean, even Fish mentioned about that too. And like, I mean, but I agree with you, you know, like as far as the younger generation, it is more difficult because they're so connected to, you know, what's going on and like their perception. There's like a famous Stoic quote. I can't remember who said it, but it's just very simple. It's just a straight up, direct, literal advice, which is be careful what kinds of images and thoughts you allow into your mind. And if you're going on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all this other stuff and YouTube and whatnot, and you're always looking at that and always looking at what other people have, well, that's the road you're going down. And that's the way you're going to be thinking. But you don't have to do that. You know what I mean? What you should be doing, I mean, this would be my advice, you know, if somebody's struggling with like keeping up with the Joneses and stuff, it would be like to just turn all that stuff off, you know, or at least limit it. If you can't completely turn it off, just limit it and spend the rest of the time focusing on yourself. Because you mentioned about like Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, and all these people, right? They were competing against themselves. If you're working to become a better version of yourself every day, right? And think about how you can improve yourself, then that's what I'm saying. You're challenging yourself. You're going to get to learn yourself and know yourself, know your personality, know your thought process, and you're going to be able to do things better. You're going to see where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and you're going to be able to pursue those. Work on yourself to be a better person. And that's why I always hate it when in sports when they talk about this guy's going to be the next Michael Jordan, this guy's going to be the next LeBron James. It's like, nah, he won't.
It's all BS, bro.
Because,
all
because LeBron James, they say he'd be the next Michael Jordan, but guess what? He wasn't the next Michael Jordan. He was the LeBron James. And that's what I'm saying. You're not going to be the next nothing. You're you, and you got to work to be the best of yourself, you know. And if you don't want to like fall victim to FOMO and these other types of emotions, you really do have to like work on focusing on yourself, not what other people are doing. So like it is either easier said than done, but there are ways to go about it.
There's always ways, man. There's always practices that you can do. Like when you want to invest, like if someone comes up to me, like I always get hands down, man. At least one time a day I get somebody text me, I want to learn how to trade. I want to learn how to make money. Or the one that I've been getting recently is, I'll give you some money so you can make me money, right? And I tell everyone all the time, even my little brother is 21 years old. I tell him, brother, get yourself an IRA account. Get yourself a Robinhood account. Ditch some money into ditch some money into it. Whatever company you like, I'll look at it with you. And just little by little, every paycheck, dump some money into it, man. You're 21 years old. If you do this now, by the time you're 30, you're going to be living life. I didn't do that. I didn't have the opportunity because everything that I had, I would dump it into trading like a freaking savage because I wanted to be rich. Yeah. Because I saw, my man, I'm sitting with you guys tonight, and I could tell you, I've seen $100,000 and I've lost $100,000. Okay, you heard that? If I need to repeat, I'll repeat it again.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here today, and I tell you, I've been through it all. I've won 100, I've lost 100. I've won 20, I've lost 20. Yes, I've been through that emotional roller coaster ride. So me at 32, of course, I'm a lot smarter than I was at 25. So that's why I keep telling the younger generation, and look, man, invest intelligently, man. Learn your flaws. Learn who you are and invest accordingly. Yeah. Maybe you're not one of those dudes that want precious metals. Maybe you're a stock guy, based off your personality. You want that self gratification on paper. Maybe buy some real estate, maybe buy something that you could see on paper that give you that self gratification. But you gotta have that emotional intelligence in you to pull the trigger and say, all right, I gotta do this and do that. All right. I'm giving you the amazing, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there's a lot of fluff out there that nobody really talks about, because everybody wants to give you the fluffy, I'm living on cloud 9 type of stuff. And sometimes that life doesn't work that way. So like I tell my brother, and like I tell all the people that I talk to day in and day out about this stuff, is how much money are you willing to lose? That's the first thing I start with. If you want to trade, how much are you willing to lose? $500. All right, go ahead and make the deposit right now. 9 out of 10 people will not make that deposit.
Because they're not really able to lose that 500 yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
because it's all psychological. But it's funny because they'll go out with their friends in a weekend and spend $500 eating crap.
Yeah.
On nothing.
That's the psyche of everything. That's what I used to do. I'm not gonna front. At 21, I was in Miami popping bottles. I was making $5,000 a month, spending $5,000 a month, thinking that I was the hot shit. And then next thing you know, I'm 25 and I'm like, oh man, what the hell am I doing in my life? And then certain things happen to me in my life that, I could discuss, but I don't want to discuss, because it's very emotional. But certain things happen that kind of flipped the switch and said, all right, I need to be a grown ass man and stop being a, what. So it's just, again, it's just based off your experiences. It's based off what you know and what you know at the time. But the thing is that gets me, and that this is why I do the YouTube channel, is because I want to reach out to the people that are kind of in that limbo mindset where they don't know who they are. They're trying to guide them to the water, not make them drink the water, but guide them to that and say, you know what? I'm Juice. I'm this type of person. This is who I am. This is why I stack this way. This is why I trade this way. This is how I invest this way. And now you could be, I'm expat. I do it this way, and this way because I'm expat. And let's see the same thing. But the human psychology in investing is very hard for people to actually do it, because people are so addicted to self gratification on the moment, on the spot, that they lose track and they lose sight of the future. And it's something to say, because me and my wife makes fun of me all the time. She says that I'm an old soul and that, I'm always doing things for the future and I always have to look at the day, but I always rebuttal her with saying, look, you're the YOLO. You only live once, right? You're the YOLO. And I'm the guy that looks to the future. So we're that yin and yang. So we kind of mesh. And I've been with my wife for 15, 16 years. So she knows me from top to bottom. She knows me better than I know me. So
Funny how that
see, you know the deal. I know that you've been with your wife for a long time. So, and you too, expat. So, it's one of those things where if you have a squad, if you have a team in your household, you guys have to recognize who you guys are and then invest accordingly. Right. My wife tells me all the time, she's like, I trust you because I know that you're my wife. I've seen me cry literally in tears, tears. I've lost, what was the biggest loss I had? Biggest loss I had was $110,000 a few years back. I cried in tears, bro. Yeah. I cried in tears. I made the 110. I lost 110. I made it back, lost it back. It was one of those things where it was a roller coaster ride, emotional roller coaster ride. But it's one of those. But I sit back now. Of course, now I'm 32. I got 2 kids now. I got a roof over my head. I got my wife. I'm looking at looking at the things differently. You know, I'm looking like your experience, see, you know, when you were in stacking until you're 9 years old and you had your silver pay your house off. You know, I'm kind of in that same boat, in the sense of I know my path already. I know what I did wrong, so I'm not going to do that again. So that's why I'm very, 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 very strict on know yourself, know who you are, and then stack accordingly or invest accordingly.
So we're talking about the whole investing and the psychology of things. So lately, I've noticed that a lot of people have actually started introducing their children to YouTube as well as stacking at the same time on a lot of the channels that I've been watching. And one thing I believe about that is it is an absolute must that we change the psychology of our children away from the mindset they have to be instantly gratified on everything they do, and teach them how to save at an early age. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I totally agree. 100,000%. I have this this idea. It's very hard to do, by the way. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not 100% at it. My wife is better at it than I am, because I'm more of that father where I'm like, you know what, just live your life, you know, have a good time right now. But that's because my son is 3 years old, and my daughter is only 5 months old. But my son, when I do my trading and I do my when I look at my technical analysis or I do my YouTube, I sit him down with me and I'm like, look, these are stocks, you know. I show him the silver. I'm like, this is real money. And I talk to him like a man. I don't do that whole jibber jabber stuff. I talk to him like a man, you know. I ingrained in him, you know, that mindset. Now, is he gonna do it? That's all up to him. But at least I know that I was there teaching him and guiding him. Yeah, I did my part. One of the, and it's funny because one of the stories that I have is my dad has a friend of his that he told me this story recently during, I think it was Christmas or something, and he was like, he had a friend of his that his son became a doctor, and he's kind of my age. He became a doctor very young, and his dad, the kid's dad, my dad's friend, every morning. Now this is a little psycho, right? I mean, I don't think I will be able to do this, but every night, like at 3, 2, every single night, when he was like 5 years old to like 13 or whatever, until he started realizing that his dad was eating shit with him, is he would go every night at 2, 3 in the morning while he's sleeping and go to his room and shake him and be like, "You're gonna become a doctor," and then walk away. Right? That's creepy, right? That honestly, that's a little creepy. But
wow.
Yeah, right. And think about it. The kids are sponges right now because everything that they see in the household, they might not say it, they might not, but they see it. Yeah. And they're sponges. And the kid, 20 years later, became a freaking doctor. And when he told his dad, he's like, "I remember you creeping up in my house, in my bedroom, late at night, scaring the crap out of me to become a doctor." And he became a freaking doctor.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I'm gonna go that far, but but I try to ingrain my I would say my ideology into my kids, because my kids are gonna feel the repercussions of what's going on in this economy now, right? You know, it right now, and this is just my opinion. I mean, I could be completely and utterly wrong. I don't know. But I feel like right now we're playing hot potato, right? And we're just playing hot potato. Now, hot potato game could last 20 years, can last 30 years, can last 10 years, can last 5 years, can last a year. Who knows? But one day that potato is going to get hot and someone's going to drop it. And I don't want my kids to be ignorant, or my kids to not have that knowledge to say, all right, I need to do this, this, and that to prevent this and this, this, and this. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense, but you know, that's something that I ingrained my kids with. And my wife tells me all the time, he's like, I'm psycho for kind of teaching my kid you know, looking at stocks. I'm like, you want to be a trader? He's like, yeah, I want to be a trader. Now, I tell him, you know, don't be an idiot? No, of course, don't be an idiot. Keep it simple, stupid. You know.
Yeah.
First learn how to write your name, and then we could talk about stocks. You know, things like that. But I agree with it, man. I think our kids are our future. This is why I stack precious metals for that reason, man. My wife, we had this conversation the other day. We're like, why do you want all this money? We were talking with friends, right? And again, my friends think that I'm an old soul. Oh, why do you want all this money sitting in the bank account? You can't take it to the grave when you die. So what? I don't give a shit. I don't want to take it to my grave. I want to give it to my kids.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, my death, my bloodline, my death be the longevity of my bloodline.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It definitely does. I really identify with that very strongly, man. Definitely.
Now, I will say this. And this is, I'm sorry if people get offended, but if my son's a freaking moron and I see my son not doing what he's supposed to do, he's not getting a penny from me. And no one's getting a penny from me. You got to show what you're worth. And I'll give you what you're worth. You get me? And I don't want to sound like, but I had to put it out there because, you know, I don't want to be that type of, you know, parent where he's like, oh yeah, I give whatever the hell I want to my kids and be done with it, even though they're freaking brats. No, man, that doesn't play with me like that. You gotta show it to give it like how SC's daughter raking up leaves. You gotta put in that work, and I'll give you what you're worth. That's fine, and I'll give you something on top. Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I was talking with It's All Good not too long ago, and he said something to me, and it stuck in my head to this very day. He goes, "You might do a chore that might be minuscule, and I will overpay you for it, but you're going to earn it."
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that the kid doing a chore is not that they're doing a chore; they're learning how to work for something. Just like they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Expat, you do the same thing for your kids, don't you? I mean, you stack for them for their, like, you have your stack, and you buy little stacks for the kids.
Yeah, they're separate.
And so your kids, once they get older, they'll learn from you, and they'll already have a kickstart on how to get going. And I see a lot of people in our community doing that same thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
man.
believe that is awesome thing.
I agree with that, and I mean, I put, I mean, my kids are just barely old enough to walk and stuff like that, but I ask them to, you know, do whatever work they can, you know, by like giving me something, like if I'm putting something up, you know, and I ask them like, give that to me, you know, give that to daddy, you know. And then also my second daughter, I was sweeping the floor the other day, and she just came up, she just looked interested, so I handed her the broom, you know, and like she just started sweeping, and she just thinks it's a game and it's funny and stuff like that. But like that's what it is. Like they need to get used to that, because that's what they're gonna be doing, you know. And I also do the same thing. Like I let them look at and touch the silver and gold, and also, even, you know, you mentioned Juice, like showing your son about the stocks. I just show them charts and like my account and stuff, and I just I just repeat the words stocks, you know?
Yeah, just ingrain it in them, man. Ingrain it in them.
My wife thinks I'm crazy, but you know, you were talking about like how you think about the future, and I just remember that movie Spy Game. I don't know if you ever seen that, but it's like Robert Redford, Brad Pitt, and he has a quote that he says to his like assistant, because she said like, aren't you being a little paranoid? And he said, when did Noah build the ark? Before the rain. Right?
Yes.
That's what I love. I love that type of thinking. I'm the same way, man, you know. And so let me ask you this, like we've talked a lot about like experience and passing on the knowledge and stuff like that, and like you've talked about some hardships that you've had to deal with, and like I also mentioned that I think that dealing with hardship and, you know, challenging yourself is how you build character and experience and get to know yourself. So like, how did you deal with it when you actually lost 100K? I mean, obviously you were upset, you were crying and all that kind of stuff, but like, can you mention like some of the things that you learned from that
Yeah,
kind of thing and how you dealt with it?
yeah. I learned not to be a greedy son of a bitch. Uh, I'm sorry. It came out to me, and it's true. I mean, look, man. I'll tell you one thing, man. Uh, Emotions run high when you're playing with real money.
Yeah.
Now,
That's right.
now when you're playing with $1,000, that isn't gonna make or break you. When you're playing with $10,000, that isn't gonna make or break you either. I mean, you could live off of that. You could do it. But once you get up there and you start seeing how you trade, right? And you start leveraging in and leveraging in, because how it started was, I started with X amount of money. I think it was like $5,000 or some shit like that. $5,000. And then when you start leveraging in, you start doubling up on your bets. And I want to put this out there to everyone. Trading is not gambling. All right.
Mm.
No one has an edge here. Gambling, the house has the edge. You're sitting at a poker table and you put in $5,000 at a poker table and you have a two of clubs and a three of hearts. You can't tell the dealer, oh no, let me get half my money back. No, it doesn't work that way. All right. In trading, it does work that way. No one has an edge. All right. So that's one of the things that I have to put out there, because I hate the fact when people say trading is gambling, and it's not. It's not. It's speculation, and when you're wrong, you cut your losses, and when you're right, you get your winners and you go home with it. All right. Now, poker is a little different because whatever, there's the psychology and the person you're playing against, but whatever. All right, so let me get back to it. So 100K, I lost $110,000 what I lost. That was an emotional roller coaster ride for me. Why? Because I was doubling in on money that was already made. All right, so on paper, the psychology behind it was I never pulled that money, so I didn't really lose that money. However, that psychology aspect of you saying, oh no, it's paper losses, it doesn't really count. It does. All right, it does. It messes up your psyche. It messes up your character. It messes up the way you think, the way you act in front of other people. It messes up all of that. So when that happened to me, I kind of sat back. First of all, I almost broke one of my computer screens, so I had to get another computer screen on top of that. I told my wife, I broke down in tears, and I told her, I'm my own worst enemy. I did this to myself. And my wife just sat there and just kind of listened to me. And she told me one thing that I'll never forget. And she told me, she's like, stop being too hard on yourself. You know why you lost it. You know, you know why you did it. You know why you do the things that you do. Now realize it, get the F up, and make it happen. All right. And I'll never forget that, because I was crying like a baby, man. And it's not the money. Honestly, it's not the money, because money comes and goes. Honestly, it's more the principle of I did something and I screwed it up. Right. So that hardship, uh, kind of I kind of punch myself in the face, and I tend to do that uh, a lot from time to time. That's why I try to, when I see the fist getting close to my face, I get my other hand and kind of block it and tell myself, right, sit the hell down and chill out, bro.
Yeah.
Chill out.
I'm same way, dude. I always got to learn the hard way.
Yeah, and that's how I learn. I learn always the hard way.
Yeah.
And so when that happened to me, I kind of just went to this emotional roller coaster ride where I'm like, you know what, I'm not worth anything. I'm a, POS. This, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And my wife literally sat down and listened to the whole spiel, saw me crying, and she's like, look, uh, you know why you did it. Now, what you shouldn't do and what you should do. and keep it moving and keep moving forward. And now that I'm 32 years old, and I've been through my wife through thick and thin. I mean, we've been through something that I don't wish any of us would go through, any human being would go through. And yeah, it was one of those emotional roller coaster rides where I'm like, you know what? It had to happen. And it happened for the better of us. You know, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's worth mentioning because none of it is fluff.
Yeah.
None of it is fluff. And 100K, yeah, it might not be 100K that I pulled out and put into my bank account, but it's 100K that I could have pulled out. And I hate it when people say, there's another thing that I not hate. I don't hate anything. I should stop using that word. Is I dislike when people say, it's not a loss until you cash out.
Mm-hmm.
My man, it's a loss. It's a loss because you had it, all right, and you could have cashed it out. Mm-hmm. Now, anyone that says don't cash out until, if you cash out, it's going to be a loss. Just like those people that average in all the time in stocks, and the thing's going down, and they keep on averaging and averaging and averaging and averaging. Dude, it's a loss. Take the freaking loss and move forward. That's why I like stacking, because stacking for me is more of like, you know what, I average in, and I know that there's certain levels or key levels on let's say silver, for example. Silver's at 25.50. It closed out at 25.50. On my chart video, I said I wanted to go to 25, and it went to 25. And I see certain levels here and there that I'm like, I'm comfortable where I know that this is a threshold that it should bounce. Now, if it doesn't bounce there, I know that it's not going to go from 25 to 0. Mm-hmm. But stocks could do that. All right. Crypto could do that. So, you know, it's this emotional roller coaster ride, and losing that 100K. I mean, it was a lesson that I had to learn because I was fluffing my own mentality. I sat back and I was thinking that I was this papi chulo. I turned 5,000 into $50,000. Who does that? And I did it in 3 months. Mm-hmm. So time frame also messes up with your psyche. You're like, oh yeah, I did a freaking 5,000. I turned 5,000 to 50,000 in 3 months. Who could do that? You know, I kind of fluffed myself up, and then after that happened, I kind of, you know, let everyone has a plan till they get punched in the face. Well, I had a plan with that 100K, and I got punched in the face. So that's why I was like one of those dudes where I live by that. You know, I'm like, you know what, I'm not planning nothing until I have it in front of me. You know, and that's one of those things where it was a necessary evil that had to happen to me. You know. Yeah.
I could tell, man, from listening to this experience from you, like, because sometimes people say, oh yeah, it's not about the money, or it wasn't about the money, but when you listen to them, you're like, yeah, actually it kind of was though. But like with you, I could tell it really wasn't, dude. Like it was way more about like the emotional, like in psychology aspect of it, in investing, but also as yourself as a person. And you said it had to happen. It did have to happen because you had to learn those lessons, you know. And your wife, bless her soul, she helped you to, you know, like pick yourself back up off the floor and to continue on, you know. And like I think that's another thing too, like I said in the previous episode, like learning to do it not just for yourself is important, because those people help to keep you grounded, you know. And a lot of us are doing this for those things, like SC mentioned. Like a lot of people are putting, you know, their family and stuff into the videos and things like that. And like I could just tell from listening to your experience there that like it was about dealing with certain parts of the personality, like you know.
It was about dealing with me. It was about, I didn't give a crap about the money, because the money comes and goes. Like to me, it's always been easy to me to make money. It's harder for me. It's easier for me to lose it than make it. But for me, it was more like a defeat psychologically, where I was like, I kind of defeated myself. Yeah. And I kind of made my own situation much worse.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's one of the things that I stress upon everyone. And I'm like, look, man, trading, stacking, everything has a risk. All right. You have to have a calculated risk for everything. All right. Everything. Now,
Even
to me,
you're taking a risk. You're taking
yeah,
a risk even if you do nothing, you know, because there's opportunity cost and like you can get taken out by inflation. But
and
like,
and that's the worst risk.
yeah,
Like, you doing nothing
yeah,
is the worst possible thing that you can be doing.
right. That's
Is
FOGI,
nothing.
fear of joining in. You know, like that's another one of those acronyms. And I'd say like FOGI is something you got to get over to deal with FOMO. You know, but I'd much rather be dealing with that than like just sitting on the sidelines, like, oh, I want to do this, but you know, I haven't worked up the courage to take the first step. You know, like I did
Yeah.
a video where I showed all my acquisitions in 2020, and you know, some people are just like in the comments saying, oh yeah, I just started stacking, you know, like a couple months ago, so I don't have anything like this. I'm like, no, you took the most important step. Like your step is way bigger than anything I've shown here, because you're taking the first step on the road to be able to you know, amass your own actual wealth, intergenerational wealth and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, that's actually the biggest first step you could take. You know, so but like I really appreciate you telling that story, because like it shows that nobody's perfect, like you said, and we all have good and bad in us, and you're really forced to confront your the negative aspects and the positive aspects of your personality and your emotions when you're dealing with this. And it just sounded like you built yourself up, you like built up this character of Juice. Wasn't Juice, but then like, you know, reality hit, and like it was a painful lesson, but like
Yeah.
you learned the lesson,
The
and
juice, the juice was deflated.
yeah, dude, the juice is
Water.
expired, you know. But dude, like it's I think it's like really, you know, it's a valuable lesson to share with people, because look, another thing too is that you have to accept that you're playing a game, and that you can never win every single time. You're gonna lose. You're going to
Yes,
lose. You gotta lose in order to win, right? You gotta have the
I
dark
agree.
with the light. You know what I mean? So like you have to accept that. If you haven't
Scared.
accepted that, it's never too late to start. You know, just accept that now. Like you said, when you take a loss, just take the loss. Do
Yeah.
whatever you can to learn from it. And like I think what you just shared right there was like probably a huge step for you, like in becoming a better, you know,
Yeah.
better taste, a better juice, you know.
Yeah.
So
Like how I tell all my guys and the people that want to invest, I tell them, look, bro, very simple how to invest. Value invest, right? You
mhm,
invest in your 401, you invest in your IRA, you invest in precious metals, you do all of that accordingly, right? Then you have a little bit of the potential lottery money,
mhm,
and then you have a little bit of the stash business money,
mhm,
and then you have a little bit of the savings. All right. So how it works is that you put your 401k, you do your automatic payments to your 401k, you do your automatic payments to your IRA, and all that other fun stuff, right? Then you get a little bit of cash that you're willing to lose,
yeah,
and you invest it in, you know, your little crypto, your little you know, day trading, yada 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 yada, right?
yeah,
Then you have a little bit of cash sitting in reserves to sit back and say, all right, where's a business opportunity that I can go ahead and tackle, right?
mhm,
What can I go ahead and do? Maybe just I don't know. I flipped iPhone cases, bro. I flipped freaking basketball jerseys. I flipped freaking storage units. I've done it all, bro. I've sold water bottle in the streets. Like, I was in middle school selling candy. Like, that was me. So I've always told everyone, like, look, very simple. Your 401k, IRA, do both. Try
mhm,
to max out because your company matches, right? Now, in these times where there's high overvalued stocks, If you want to keep doing that, go ahead and do so. Me personally, I decrease my position in doing that, increased percentage amount on my retirement and stuff like that, because I'd rather buy the crash than buying the fluff. But that's just my perception. I might be completely wrong, but it doesn't matter because I'm so diversified that nothing's gonna hurt me. That's how you have to become. You have to become a diversified ninja. You know, like everything that comes your way, you can block it off. It doesn't matter. You know, that's why I own a property. And I bought this property for the particular reason of me wanting to rent it out, because it's in an area where I could rent it out for high premium. So certain decisions that I made when I was younger, when I kind of flipped a switch and told myself, you know, stop eating shit, let's go ahead and do this. So that's how I recommend everyone, you know, 401k, IRA, without a doubt. Then you have to have a little bit of play money, because you always want to play and see if there's a potential to make more. And then you always have to have a stash, just in case someone gives you a business proposition or some type of business that you think that will be worthwhile, maybe a real estate, maybe a property, maybe a business, maybe something, that you have some type of funds where you don't have to touch your metals or anything like that. You know, it's ready to go ahead and pull the trigger. And then of course your savings, because you have to put, you know, you have to maintain the roof over your head, you have to maintain the water heater, the AC, things in that nature. Keep it simple, man. Keep it simple, stupid. You know, that's why I have 400 ounces of silver and 4 ounces of gold, and I'm going to accumulate much more. And I've only started in July. I mean, in February. Sorry, February. July I started YouTube, and I'm going to continue doing that. Now, do I put all my money in gold and silver? No. I wish I would, but you know, there's certain circumstances that I can't. And I also like to have some type of dry powder to get opportunities like we had on Friday. But I mean, I'm more calculated than anything else. Like I make sure that I have something to pull the trigger on, something else to make me something. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. You know, I mean, I feel like you've learned to be very calculated, and like you talk about in a lot of your videos, being patient and being
Yes.
slow. I know, like
Yes.
Navy SEALs talk about that as well. Like it seems like, oh, there's like this battle and like there's this combat and everything's crazy, and like it's like people end up running around like a chicken with their head cut off. But you got to be slow. You know, you got to be slow and see the Matrix, like Neo. You know what I mean? Like,
You gotta see it, man. You gotta see it. Like something that I like to say to everyone is, learn your flow.
yeah.
Learn trading in the zone. So there's this book by Mark Douglas. I don't know if you guys read anything, but there's this book by Mark Douglas. It's called Trading in the Zone, and he also has Disciplined Trader. They're both great books. So I listened to this back in the day, right? And I read that book like 7 or 8 times, bro, because I felt it before. The zone. I felt that mojo zone, right? So whenever, like in battle, I don't know. I've never been into battle. I've never been a Marine. You know, hands down to them. I'm too soft for that. But I've been in a trading zone, and I've been in the battle of actually having a decent amount of money where people, the average Joe, would not feel comfortable swinging it or playing with it. I don't like to say gambling, but it's always like one of those things where it's like gambling, but it's not gambling. You know, it's playing with it or speculating with it, and a lot of people won't feel comfortable with it. But I've been in positions where I've gone 13 for 13 in trade, 13 wins, 13 wins straight. And I felt those little specks of trading in the zone where I've noticed myself psychologically looking at, let's say, Tesla, and looking at the bid and the ask, and looking at the times in sales, and telling myself, hold, chill out, hold, chill out, hold. All right, this dip came back, buy instead of sell it. buy more instead. And these little things here and there where I've noticed myself trading in the zone, where you feel like you're in, like you said, the Matrix, where you feel like you're in the mojo, like your mojo is in there, and you like kind of like an athlete going for, like LeBron James going 12 for 12 in the 3-point line, or you writing a book and you just kind of in that zone, that mojo feeling of you just keep typing and you're like in that realm of like, wow, the juices are flowing and you're just continuing at it.
Yeah.
I've felt those things while I'm trading, and the professional traders out there, usually the reason why they became professional traders is because they took that zone, trading in the zone, and they leveraged it, and they hit home runs with it. And then, of course, after the home run, they disperse their money, make sure that everything's okay, so that way they could turn trading into a full-time job.
Right.
And that part right there is where I'm trying to get to. But it's very hard for me because, again, I don't want to lose my my health insurance benefits are freaking awesome. I do have 2 kids, and it's different. I don't trade with $100,000 either. I trade with 5, 10, depending on however much I have. This year, I wired in some money, and I still haven't wired in the full amount because I've been trying to figure out a way to kind of tell myself, all right, let's do this a little differently, because another backside of this that we haven't spoken about that we probably should is the mafia, the IRS. Trading is a killer for the IRS.
Yeah.
They love us. They love to feed off us. So that's another thing too that I it's just there's so much stuff that intertwines with each other. But investing intelligently is very simple. Is investing what you know, what companies you know. Like I told my brother, I'm like, my little brother's only 21, a little photographer. He's doing his thing, and he's still in that world of like, oh yeah, don't tell me what to do type of crap, right? Because he knows more than me, right? That's how it is. It's true. So I tell him all the time, I'm like, hey man, do this, do that. Don't listen to me if you don't want to listen to me. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Don't listen to me, but just do it.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out, I'll pay for the repercussion. But I guarantee you it's gonna work out.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Most kids just don't listen. They don't take the advice or the wisdom that's being trying to give to them. So my grandfather told me this thing one time about that. He goes, "Youth is wasted on the young, and wisdom is wasted on the old." and what he means by that is, when you're young, you don't really do the things that you should do, like go explore, go visit things, go taste new things, go meet new people. And wisdom, by the time you make all those stupid mistakes, you're so old that you really can pass those mistakes on to your children and teach them, don't do this. Like Expat said, the stove is hot, don't touch it. Well, you don't, as a kid, you're like, you touch it anyway. Oh, it was hot. Daddy was right. Things along those lines. Just don't take that wisdom as a treasure, but it really is.
Yeah.
But remember, like, put yourself in that shoe. Did you really listen to your grandfather at 21?
No, I did not.
I was gonna say, as a kid, I literally drank Tabasco sauce, even though my mom told me not to. She told me exactly what was gonna happen, but I was like, "But it's red. I like red, and I like juice. I'm gonna drink this." And I paid the price, But that's what we were saying. Like that's experience, though, right there. Because look, in my opinion, what wisdom is intelligence mixed with experience, and you combine those two things, and then you know what to do. And it's like you can actually get in the zone, like Juice was talking about, like where it's automatic, like you don't even have to think about it or feel any type of way about it or whatever. Like you just know what to do because you've already been there before, you've already experienced it, you've seen it, you know what to do. And that is something that, like, we I mean, I don't know. I can't control it, but I've felt it a few times as well. And then, so I also know though that when I'm not in the zone, where I'm like, should I do this? What should I do? Should I do that? I'm thinking about this. I'm like, yeah, this is just, you know what? Like, I'm gonna make a bad decision, so let me just step back from this. I'm not in the zone right now, so
Yeah.
you know. So like, yeah, that's
Yeah. Well,
definitely.
my worst trading days is when I do two things. When I compare myself to someone else
Mm-hmm.
or some other account, or I don't follow positive action. I don't follow, like, if I wake up grumpy as shit, or I wake up hangry, like my wife likes to call me hangry, uh, hungry but hangry. Uh, I don't function well.
Yeah,
I don't function well when I'm in my mind constantly beating myself up.
yeah,
So I learned that from myself, and that part right there is, again, value investing, investing in your value, investing in what you're good at. And I think it's very simple. It's just that it's hard to learn. And with kids, it's harder to learn because they think that they know it all. And I was in that same boat.
yeah,
Um, I had a, a several opportunities to make a boatload of money, um, and at a very young age, and I never pulled the trigger because I thought I was a hot shit,
mm-hmm.
and that doesn't work that way. Life is not like that. And on YouTube, I see that a lot. Um, and it's funny because the people that I watch don't do that. It's the people that have more subscribers than the people that I watch,
Yeah,
which is kind of funny to me. But yeah, I mean, that's why I'm here, man. That's why I'm here. I'm just trying to educate. And even though I'm not a teacher, I'd say it all the time. I'm not a teacher. I'm just a freaking dude on YouTube talking crap. But I try my hardest to explain the severity of knowing who you really are and how you could stack and invest at the
yeah.
same time.
And like, I think, you know, there's two things. One, like, money, real money, is a resource. You know, and I think that's also something that's important to keep in mind too when we try to make decisions on this stuff, because we attach all these other things that come along with that resource, you know, of like, oh, well, I can get this, I can get this, I can get this. We build up the value way too high, but like, it's a resource. People say time is money because time is also a resource, and it's also limited, right? And like, you have limited amount of time in order to make money, but just recognize it for what it is. It's a resource that can allow you to do other things, and don't build it up anything beyond that, you know, because then
Yeah.
you're going to trick yourself and confuse yourself. And then like the other thing too, you mentioned like when you wake up, you know, hangry and stuff like that. It's like you have to take care of yourself, you know, before you start thinking about any of these other things, right? So you got to
Absolutely.
make sure everybody knows what it's like to be tired and try to think about something complicated. Well, it's the same thing if you're hungry or if you're feeling sad or something or whatever, right? Like, so make sure you're in a good state, you know, psychologically. I mean, we
Yeah.
talk about investment psychology. Well, it's not separate from regular psychology, you know. So like,
It's not.
if you're going through a tough time, you know, you're not going to make a good decision if you're like, you know, that you're going through a rough patch temporarily, right? And you might want to just like put that off to the side, focus on yourself, deal with yourself and what you're dealing with, and then come back to the stacking, investing, or whatever, you know. Uh,
Yeah, I get that all the time because one of the big arguments, not arguments, but one of the big debates that I have with my friends, of course, my friends that are, I don't want to say broke, but whatever, is when they say money isn't happiness, or money doesn't give you happiness or whatever.
mhm.
My rebuttal is always, look, man, you're talking shit because you never had money. All right, so you don't know. Money enhances who you are.
Everything.
It
Yeah,
enhances who you are.
yeah,
So yeah, and I hate that. Oh, money is the root of all. No, bro. Money enhances who you are. If you're a douchebag and you have money, you're gonna be a bigger douchebag. If you are a family guy and you love your family and you love to be low key and you love to just not basically share the wealth, because rich people don't share wealth, is you love to educate people, you love to be a philanthropist, you're gonna be more of that with money.
Yeah.
I get it all the time. I always get these little trollers on here when on YouTube or all my friends. That's why they call me an old fart. They're like, oh, money doesn't make you happy. I'm already happy. Don't you get that? I'm happy. If I get money, I'm gonna be happier. It's like it doesn't matter. Like I'm already a happy person. Yes, I am. If I die right now, I'm gonna die with a smile on my face. But if I had money, I'm gonna die with a smile on my face and with money.
Yeah.
It's like
I think that's a really good point. It does like just amplify.
It enhances who you really are. Who you really are. Because you could fake it and be, this timid guy, oh my God, and be this old person, and then all of a sudden make buku bucks and be a freaking total douchebag, because that's the root who you were, So that's one of the things.
Your story earlier about how depressed you were and stuff like that, I think it's the opposite side of that coin, like it teaches you about yourself as well, like if you're willing to learn, and that's the key. So I mean, like I think that that is, I believe this is like a whole area of study, like people have like PhDs and stuff in like investment psychology, but to me it's just super interesting because it just ties into so many other areas of life. You know what I mean?
Investment psychology is common sense.
Yeah.
In my book. The reason why it's common sense is because not a lot of people have common sense anymore. And they don't. And it's sorry to say it, and I'm sorry for the listeners that don't have common sense, but it's true. There's a lot of people that have, mud for brains. They live this life of illusion that you got to realize what's real and what's not. Just like the stock market. I'm going to give you an example. The stock market right now is at all-time highs. Everything is looking fine and dandy on paper. My property right now, I've only been living in it for 2.5 years, and it's raised 30-40%, which is unheard of. Usually real estate property usually goes up 2 or 10% 2% per year, something like that, 2 to 5% per year, something like that. This thing is getting ridiculous. So you got to realize where you're sitting down and saying to yourself, all right, how long can this last? Common sense will tell you it's not going to last long. However, let's go backtrack. Timing is relative. All right. It could happen now. It could happen 5 years from now. It could happen 20 years from now. No one knows, because time is relative. All right. Just like you right now. What time is it over there, Expat?
It is 1:13 p.m.
All right. What time is it over there, you, Essie?
It's 2200.
There you go, kid. 2200. Yeah. I'm at 2300.
I'm in the next day, by the way.
There you go. But that's where I'm going for. That's where I'm getting at. Time is relative. No one knows shit. No one knows shit. So what you got to do is sit back and tell yourself, all right, what do I got? What do I got to lose? What can I go ahead and secure my future with? All right. Now, you could do the YOLO thing. My wife loves YOLO because I get Amazon package and Target packages every single day in my house. But and you guys probably know that feeling. But at the end of the day, I sit back and tell myself, all right, all the moves that I'm making now isn't for today. That's where I'm getting at. And that's what I think the younger generation and stackers that are just into stacking and they don't want to get into the paper markets because they think that the paper markets, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. I like that idea. However, diversification gives you success. Maybe not now, but in the long run it will.
And the other thing is, like, you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's true, but that's not the end of the conversation, you know. At least not for me, you know. Like, yeah, I could also, like you said earlier as well, like some people are saying like, oh, well, you made that 100K, you didn't like dump your own like earnings or whatever into it, so it's not real. But it is real though, because you could have turned that into something that you do hold, you know. And I did that a lot last year, and that wasn't something that I had planned on doing, but I was like, well, I'm doing better than I expected, you know, with these stocks, so I'm just going to take the extra that I'm getting and just turn it into something that I do hold, you know, because
that's more secure, like physical.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of like you. I got started kind of late. Part of it was because I was like, you know, when I was single and stuff and living over here, I was like traveling around. I wasn't really trying to save my money. I was trying to experience my, you know, life, and I've always been
YOLO, baby.
Yeah. And then, you know, slowly things change, and it's like, oh, well, I should have been saving some money now, so what am I gonna do? But it's just like, it's like you said, you know, just take it easy. You can't change the past. Learn what you can from it, you know, and that all works into both who you are as a person individually and how you end up investing. And I just really like that you mentioned about how, you know, money is going to amplify who you are. So the more you have it, if you are, you know, a bad person, that's going to be magnified the more money you have. And if you're happy, then that's also going to be amplified. And what makes you happy, you will learn through life's challenges and through investing. So I think, like, you know, that's a really good way to kind of tie up this topic, is that like you can learn about yourself, and by doing so you can also make money with that, you know.
And then one thing I like to add to just close out this topic is learn that you do not need automatic gratification. You don't need gratification right away. One thing that my dad taught me: fast money leaves fast. All right, so you gotta that's one of the things that you gotta really pay attention to. Fast money leaves fast. It is what it is. That's how the world works. So self gratification right now doesn't have to be you know, it's one of those things where you don't need it. All right, just don't think about that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I have that fault. I bet you guys have that fault. Everyone, it's ingrained in the human mind because of what we hold in our pockets, the technology that we hold. So that's one thing that you guys have to at least you know, make sure that you're aware of it, you know.
Yeah, you can sense it as it's starting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like you mentioned about the yin and the yang, you know, like the phone and the technology and stuff like that. It can be your best friend, it could be your biggest enemy, you know. It's like the double-edged sword. So
yeah, for sure it is.
Good point. SC, do you have anything you want to add to close out this topic?
Oh man, you guys pretty much covered it all. And he's right. Instant gratification doesn't need to be gained instantly. Gratification can come over time.
Another Stoic quote is like, you know, if you ask about like, I'm gonna butcher it. I'm gonna just try to like, you know, paraphrase it. But like, if you want something good, it takes time. Just like a fig takes time to grow on a tree, you know. And that's the natural way of things. And no matter how much you press it or push it or try to make it, force it to happen, it's you know, you have to abide by the laws of nature eventually, you know. So find your flow and go with that. Find your flow and go with that, just like Juice said, man. That's perfect.
That's right.
All right, what a great conversation. I think like, they could probably use this in like some college classes and stuff because we got like
I'm dropping bombs of knowledge right now.
exactly, man. All right, awesome guys. We're gonna catch you guys in the next one.